And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Good morning, Car Clinic affiliates. Your Car Clinic minutes for the week of October 14th, 2019 are about to head your way. So go ahead and press that record button. As always, thank you for broadcasting and listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Have a great weekend.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Buddhists know it, so do exercise physiologists and Wall Street economists. Yep, everything's connected. Just ask your radiator. Hey, that's a great idea, and when I come back, I'll do just that.
O'Reilly. When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Bobby Likis, here with your radiator. Mr. Radiator, you're a guy with lots of connections.
Oh, yes, sir. Though I'm famous for keeping your engine from overheating, I have other friends in high places.
Like who?
Automatic transmissions. Yep, I keep them both cool under normal circumstances, but if your engine overheats due to neglect, it could be curtains for your transmission, too.
You heard it straight from Mr. Radiator's mouth. Keep them all happy under the hood. Service your radiator every 2 years. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Advice is everywhere on how to fight fat, fix fashion faux pas, win on Wall Street, and create culinary delights. But do you know how to zap sap? When I come back, I'll tell you. O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Tree sap deposits aren't part of summer's prettier side. They create ugly stains on your car's finish. Here's a fix. Hold ice cubes over sap lumps for several minutes. Then gently push against them with a plastic spatula to break them off. With a soft cloth dipped in a very hot detergent water mixture, rub the residue vigorously. Hose with cool water. When dry, polish the sap spots, then wax your whole car. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. It shields you from wind and rain and from stinging bees and low-flying objects. Nope, it's not your mom, but it does protect you when you drive. When I come back, I'll tell you what it is.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Ancient road warriors used shields for protection, and so do you. Your thoroughly modern windshield. Yes, the first drivers used goggles to fend off weather and bugs. Then these were replaced by plate glass, which protected better but shattered easily. Finally, in the mid-20s, lamination was introduced. In this process used today, 2 glass layers are sandwiched around a flexible, clear sheet of laminate designed to prevent glass from shattering into the passenger cabin. Thanks to windshields and moms, trips down life's highways are safer. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Ah, the sweet ping of wind chimes on your patio. Uh-oh, you're not on your patio, but in your car? Then there's nothing sweet about that ping. When I come back, we'll face the music.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The ping of a grandfather clock may sound comforting, but coming from your engine, it's bad news. Pinging is an abnormal form of combustion in your engine cylinders that causes shock waves which produce that metallic sound. Increasing the octane of gas to reduce pinging's like taking cough drops for bronchitis. The symptoms mask, but the underlying problems and potential damage to sensors, emission systems, and even the onboard computer just increases. So heed that little ping before it becomes the gong of expensive repairs. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Has the boss got you down? Career at a stalemate? Office boring? Hey, turn that frown upside down. When I come back, I'll share some gee whizzes that'll make you a hit at the water cooler.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Here are some automotive gee whizzes that'll make you go, Did you know Theodore Roosevelt was the first president to drive a car and to own one? Did you know the last Russian Tsar, Nicholas II, had a pair of Rolls Royces? And Lenin, the father of communism, had a Rolls of his own. Did you know Clyde Barrow, the famous gangster, wrote to Henry Ford telling him what a dandy car he made? Wow, this has been fun. Now go show off at the water cooler. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Ride along with me this hour, and I'll answer your car questions. Miss Hannah will take your calls. And please get in early so that we don't get so rushed toward the end of the program and I don't have enough time to properly answer your question. You know, really, there's no short answer. Of course, if you've tuned into Bobby Likis Car Clinic, you know I never give a short answer anyway. But there really are no short answers because you don't. In other words, a real simple question: should I use synthetic oil or conventional oil? Well, that depends. Everything depends on your climate, the type of driving, the automobile, the mileage on the car, and a lot of other factors that go into the machine that you put the key in, put gas in, and expect it to run and start every time. So those are just a few overviews of the things that we can talk about. Hannah will take your call at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by Berryman Products. If your vehicle is a little sluggish or experiencing poor fuel economy, well, that's a no-brainer. You can try Berryman's B12 Chem Tool, which features Berryman's exclusive HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology. Berryman B12 Chem Tool helps clean the fuel system and can result in higher compression, fewer repairs, and lower operating costs. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com. Your calls when I come back. In the service bay this week, an 08 F-150 with a check engine light flashing, which typically indicates a misfire. The engine was showing the symptoms as well because it was shaking and the truck was hardly running. A complete diagnostics proved the problem to be one failed ignition coil and a marginal coil. At 12 years old and 123,000 miles, we felt it made sense to replace all the coils and spark plugs. Our solution? Replacement coil packs and spark plugs from Motorcraft. These trucks perform best when they're running on all 8 cylinders, and even more so when Motorcraft parts are installed. We carefully installed the coil packs and spark plugs, cleared the misfire codes, and road tested the vehicle. The customer's F-150 ran great. The performance and economy restored. Motorcraft parts are specifically designed for all your Ford and Lincoln repairs. Motorcraft, right part, priced right. You can learn more about Motorcraft coil packs and spark plugs and other high-quality vehicle-specific parts at Motorcraft.com. This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Folks, this week an 04 Chevy Avalanche with 196,000 miles came in the shop with a noisy front wheel and ABS light on. Our service team determined the truck had a bad front wheel bearing. Not sure about the ABS issue. We called our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional who recommended a Precision brand hub assembly. The Precision hub came with new bearings, new seals, new wheel studs, and an ABS sensor built in. Perhaps the new hub with its built-in ABS sensor might also fix the ABS. We called the owner to explain the process and give a cost estimate. Replace the hub, clear all codes, and retest the vehicle. What a relief after repair as both the noise and ABS issue were repaired. Given the cost of repair, whenever we can fix 2 problems with 1 part, makes our customers really happy and our team heroes. That's why we make O'Reilly Auto Parts our first call. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started, folks. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. So, Jonathan Sloan, our handy-dandy, does everything for us, is in the control booth. And then Miss Hannah, who will take your calls at 888, is also in the control booth, and she'll be glad to take your calls. But really, all you have to do is give her your name and the state that you're calling from, and you can just, if you've got a transmission question or a fuel injection question or a tire or whatever, then she will just put that topic up there, and you and I will have that conversation. There's no need to prep. You can just talk with me as though we're face to face and you're asking for advice. And what's really neat about our process and the way that we've created and organized and codified our processes here over the past 28 years is that we make it easy for you to ask the questions that you need, and I also give you buzzwords so that when you, not to fix your car, although I've certainly fixed my share on air, but so that you can go to your local service provider and know the right question to ask. And also Fabio, who handles the board and is our producer, and prepares all of our show tracks. And a show track are those commercials that you hear in the break in between segments of the program. The program's designed so that we have 3 segments, and this is the first of the live segment. We are live. It's about 12 minutes after the hour. The program is brought to you every Saturday for 28 years between 10 and noon Eastern Time. So let's get started. 888 Car Clinic. Also, I want to welcome a friend and an associate of Jonathan Sloan's, and that's Jameson Myers. Jameson is a student at Pensacola Christian College, and I understand he's studying mechanical engineering. And so I asked what kind of mechanical engineering. I understand it's aerospace is what you'd like to go into, right? I'm looking at him through the window in our white room, which is our green room, and I find that very interesting. And I'm not sure, are you familiar with IHMC, the Institute for Human and Machine Cognition? No, he's not saying no. Okay, just for your information, and folks, this is like our claim to fame in Pensacola, Florida, and it's my personal claim to fame, and thanks to my friend Dr. Ken Ford, who was the founder of the Institute for Human and Machine Cognition. And by the way, they won globally. They came in second on a robot, because they are design and engineer and create robotic torsos and legs and what have you. I had the opportunity, thanks to Ken, to go to Houston and drive the moon rover. So I've got a picture of it on my phone, and as is the little ego in me, every time I turn my phone on, the lock screen that pops up is a picture of me inside the moon rover, driving it on a space little pad, or a territory that's created to look like the moon, at the base there in Houston, Texas, Johnson Control Center. So anyway, I drive that, and somebody says, "Oh, wow, that's kind of neat." And I said, "Yeah, the best car I ever drove." And of course, people are waiting when I say that. Well, was it a Lamborghini, or was it a Veyron or Chiron? And the answer is no. It was a space, and it was all electric, and it was operated by a joystick. And you should go online, folks, just for grins, and look at it. And Jameson, you could do that as well. That would be really cool, because this device looked like a helicopter, the bubble of a helicopter, and the front nose of it had two driving positions, a driver and a co-driver, each with a joystick, and you could look through the windshield, of course, and drive, but also there's a big screen in front of you, LCD, and then it would show you the relative position of the wheels, and you could crab, which means that you could turn the vehicle to the left 90 degrees and then still go straight down the highway, although you would be going sideways, perpendicular to the direction, the path. And the reason you could do that is these wheels, the axles, and of which there are 6, would rotate. And so you could actually like go to the top of a crater, which I did, and little crab all the way around the crater. And you could do that with a joystick, and it was, it was analogous to gaming, really, except it was real. You know, it wasn't a game. And Ken was the lead of the creation and production and design of that machine. And so I asked him, well, how long did it take to make the moon rover? And he said, well, it took us about 4.5 months, which I thought was unbelievable. And he said, we had about 200 or so engineers. And I said, well, how does that work? You know, with an automobile, we know you have to have an engine and drive tire and wheels and tires and what have you. And the looks of it are just aesthetics, so that, you and I will buy whatever we think is, pretty to us or fits our needs. Most of the time, people don't buy according to their needs. They buy according to their wants. I guess that's human nature. That's certainly a case with me. I bought a nice luxury car because I wanted it, and I earned it. So, that's that. We all have our own little shtick there. So the bottom line, Dr. Ford told me, he said, well, what we did was we gave the specifications and the surroundings that this vehicle would be used in. So I said, well, what is that? Well, he said, very cold temperatures in space, no atmosphere in space, cosmic and rays from the sun, and explosions on the surface of the sun that would could damage and destroy and vaporize a human being. So all those things being said, by giving the specifications and the environment with which this vehicle would be driven, then the engineers were said, okay, well, let's start out with here, here, and here. And then each one of those engineers had the autonomy to make suggestions and make changes along, if they were consensual with the group. But I find that very interesting, so I had the opportunity to go there. And so enough of that, and I just want to share that with you. The number's 888 Car Clinic if you have a story, or if you would like to a question about some individual automobile issue. And speaking of automobiles, as you may well be aware, we're partnered with the Car Care Council, which is a non-profit organization that was created to help consumers, and also yours truly, folks like me, the technical side that are in the business, help us better maintain our vehicles and know what to do and when to do and what have you. And according to Rich White, who is the executive director of the Car Care Council, and I'll quote, "A little auto care can go a long way toward protecting your vehicle investment. Neglecting your vehicle can be very costly in the form of more expensive repairs and loss of resale value down the road." End quote. Now, I thought that's very interesting, because we all think about, we all think about our cars when they break down. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? Yeah, you don't think about your tires particularly until you're on a wet road and something happens and you spin out, or you have a flat tire. Oh gosh, these tires. This is the second flat I've had in X amount of time, and I should know better. So with the Car Care Council, they created a new video that's entitled "Auto Care Goes a Long Way," which is exactly what Rich White was speaking of, and it shows how you can save money with some simple preventive maintenance. And it was introduced for the Fall Car Care Month, which is October this month. And the new video illustrates how you can address certain issues like, and here are some issues: brakes, tires, belts, hoses, and fluids will help you to keep the car running smoother and more efficiently, and it'll save you money at the gas pump. So there's nothing but good news an upside about taking care of your automobile. Other areas of the vehicle, folks, like heating and air conditioning systems, wipers, and lights should also be checked regularly and periodically. And to help you get the most out of your vehicle investment and protect its long-term value and add value when you get ready to trade it or sell it, you visit the Car Care Council's website at carcare.org. That's carcare.org. And while you're there, sign up for the free custom service schedule. I did it. It works. And I'm in the business, folks, but I depend on my online connection at the carcare.org so that I can get reminders of it's time to service your automobile. And what's really neat about the Car Care Council's website is that whenever I get one of those notices, I always look at my mileage on my car to see how close they are. Because, you go in, you put your VIN, and you put the mileage, and then there's a algorithm and that figures it from there, and it's mathematics, right? Well, you say, well, I don't know how many miles. I've driven 6,800 miles, and I get an email from the Car Care Council sites that says, your service is due in 200 miles, like 7,000 miles, or whatever it was that I signed up for. I find it very interesting, very informative, and it definitely is a reminder to me, and we all need reminders of how to take care of our automobile. That's why you tune in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So take a look at carcare.org, and I'll take your calls when I come back at 888-227-2546. Don't touch that dial. All batteries are not created equally. Don't trust just any battery for your vehicle. An Optima battery has up to 3 times the life of a traditional flooded battery. Optima batteries are constructed with 99.99% pure lead, meaning additional power, quicker recharging, and corrosion resistance. Additionally, each Optima AGM battery is maintenance-free and completely sealed, preventing acid spills. Optima batteries, the ultimate power source. Learn more at OptimaBatteries.com. Motorrad, a longtime OE supplier, is a leader in automotive thermostats, caps, and engine management products. Motorrad's manufacturing facilities feature state-of-the-art equipment with strict quality control and functional testing, ensuring high-quality, long-lasting products. Motorrad delivers world-class product development for its advanced thermal and engine management programs, providing parts, accessories, and kits needed to do the job right the first time, every time. Motorrad provides parts for virtually any vehicle and engine on or off the road. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Repairing a coolant leak can be costly and typically happens to older vehicles that may not be worth the expensive fix. K-Seal is an alternative, a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Older sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. You can find K-Seal at Menards, in addition to fine part stores nationwide. Learn more at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So every week, or almost every week, I provide for you the gas prices. The national average for unleaded gasoline is $2.65. And those prices in all but one of the 9-10 regions in the U.S., and those regions are the East Coast, New England, Central Atlantic, Lower Atlantic, Midwest, Gulf Coast, Rocky Mountain, West Coast, and the West Coast, less California. So in all of those regions, if you compare today's price of gasoline with the same time last year, every region is lower than it was same time last year. And if you look at same time last week, which really, folks, gas prices are volatile. They go up and down on a weekly basis, and I'm not really sure what drives a lot of that. As I understand, and I've done some study on this, 70% of the price of gas has to do with the price of crude, of the barrel of a price of oil, and then the other is transportation. And I'll give you an example. If, say, Chevron, they have a refinery in Kentucky, of course, which is their corporate headquarters, as I understand. And so if they sell fuel and gasoline on the Gulf Coast, they'd have to truck it from Kentucky to Florida. Well, there's a cost in that. So they don't do that. Well, you say, well, how does Chevron sell Chevron gasoline in Pensacola, Florida, which is our corporate headquarters, our studio is located there, if they don't truck it? Well, they buy it from a local refinery, which happens to be about 70 miles from here. And that local refinery, which at one time was owned by Louisiana Land and Exploration, LL&E, and then they sold out. But I was there and had the privilege of a plant tour. This is some 25 years ago, where I was. It was explained to me that LL&E and that refinery, which is still there, supplies 85% of all the gasoline on the Gulf Coast. So if you go to a Shell station or a Exxon station or a Chevron station or wherever, you say, well, wait a minute, is it the same gas? It is the same fuel, plus each individual brand has, and this is the big station where they fill up the semis, that I was there, and it was privileged to watch them do that as well. Where they fill the semi up with X thousands of gallons, and then they have small from the main refinery, and then they top it off with whatever brand of additives that particular semi is carrying. So that means that the base fuel is all the same. And you know what? I never really thought about this. It's the same way with oil. Mobil 1, castor oil, Royal Purple, all those oils, they use the same base product. And some are refined, like synthetic is refined more than conventional, so that all the molecules are same size. That's why synthetic oil flows better and protects better, one of the reasons. And then the additive package is what differentiates castor oil and Royal Purple and Mobil 1 from any other oil. It's really very interesting, and each individual brand has its own little package. Of course, all the brands combined have to meet the API, which is the starburst on the quart of oil, that specification. But it is not. There's no law that says they have to do that. They're not mandated to do that. But if they're gonna, if you have a GM, and GM came out with its several years ago with its own brand or own specification of oil, and it was called Dexos. So does GM make oil or refine oil? Well, no, but they do generate and engineer their own engines, and which are mandated to get lower emissions, fewer emissions. So therein lies where the real challenge is. How do you make oil or refined oil and add the additives to fit the specifications of the particular manufacturer? So that's a big box. It's a huge challenge. And so the API creates a spec. Each individual manufacturer creates their spec, and then you either have to, if you're going to sell oil to the Joe public, that would be you and me, and you are Mobile One, and I'm driving a Chevrolet, and you're driving a Ford, and they're different specs. That oil has to meet both of those specs, or it has to exceed. So therein lies the real message here. When you use an oil or gasoline or a part for your vehicle, and you want to maintain the factory OEM warranty while it's still under that OEM first initial warranty, you don't have to go back to the dealer to have service, but you have to use products and or services that meet and or exceed the manufacturer specifications. So, well, what if you need what if you need an oil filter? That's something so simple as an oil filter, and you're driving a Mercedes, and Mercedes sells an oil filter because there's the oil filter in the box, or Toyota. Well, you can buy a Wix filter because it meets and or exceeds the specifications of the manufacturer. It's really that simple, and it's really not that simple, but for you, make it easy. Just call me, and then I'll help you to answer any questions. And we're going to take a call from Jim, and I see that also from Mississippi, Jimmy is on the line. And I'm going to go there, but Jim, I'm going to come to you first with your Hyundai Ridgeline. But before I do, I want to just tease the audience with this. There's a search that I found this week. It's a U.S. Google search trend. It's the most common technical issues and curiosities per car brand. This is the darndest paper, and I'll give you an example. If you own a Mini Cooper, this is how many Googles are searched per month for this question. Who makes the Mini Cooper? 5,000. How much does a Mini Cooper weigh? 350. Where is the battery on a Mini Cooper? How to open the hood of a Mini Cooper. 90 people had to Google how to open the hood of their own car, really. How to jumpstart a Mini Cooper. 90. I'm surprised. I thought it'd be more than that. Because if you drive a Mini, you're sooner or later going to jumpstart it. Ooh, that was bad, wasn't it? Okay, let's go to Jim, take his call, and then I'll come back and share some other commonly asked questions on Google, and you'll be surprised at some of these questions, and maybe some of these questions will hit you, squarely in the face because maybe you've Googled it as well. Jim, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us.
Thanks, Bobby, for taking my call.
Sure.
I got a 2000, it's either 14 or 15 Honda Ridgeline.
Okay. And
I've noticed twice since I've owned that vehicle, and also I got just a couple years younger, a Scion XB.
Right.
That when I bought brand new tires and I did the regular rotation, like 3,000 or 5,000 miles down the road or something, that I would get when they rotate the front tires to the back, you get that womp womp sound where the tires are trying to wear back in. And one of the guys at the garage told me that when they did the change, they were limited by the wheel balance lugs, I guess they are. And so the tires have to wear themselves back in. I was wondering, is there anything that can alleviate that, or do I have to go through that sound on the road when I'm rotating tires?
Well, number one, tires don't have to wear back in. The reason you rotate tires is because they wear unevenly front or rear. So the reason you rotate the tire is to give the tires a break. For instance, your Ridgeline is a rear drive vehicle. So on a rear drive vehicle, the right rear, and this is if you have, and folks, this relates to only those cars that do not have staggered size wheels. My car has larger rear tires than front, so there is no rotation. And as a result, 20,000, 24,000 miles, I got to buy a set of tires. But if you have a vehicle, and Jim, like yours, where all four tires are the same size, then what you want to do is you want to move that tire, front and rear, left to right, and there's a methodology for that. You do not want to change the direction of the tire. You want to change the placement of the tire. And here's why. Think about a feather. if you push your finger down a feather in the direction that the feathers grow, then it's smooth. But if you go the opposite direction, it ruffles the feathers. You see that visually? Okay.
Yep.
So as you're driving the vehicle, that tire, the friction on the road turns like the front wheels because there's no drive. Now the rear wheels, while that's true too, but the rear wheels are, depending on how hard you accelerate, they'll sort of be even with regard to feathering, because you accelerate and they're digging in, and then you let off, they're deaccelerating, so the road is driving the tire versus the tire driving the vehicle down the road. So it's sort of even Steven, unless you're very aggressive, on the rear wheels. But on the fronts never drive on a rear drive vehicle. So all of the friction is pulling the tire around. You see where I'm going? Rolling it. Okay?
Right.
So as that happens, then it feather edges the treads of the tire. So if you were to take any normal tire that has 5,000 miles on it, brand new car, 5,000 miles, and you ran your hand across like you do, like a bald-headed guy I saw last night, was kind of cool. He stroked his head. So if you stroked the tire, say from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, with the palm of your hand one way forward and then backwards, you'll feel the little ruffle the feather. You'll feel it smoother one way than the other. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the wrong thing to do is to change the direction of that tire, because, and that's what these people that told you this are referring to, when you change the direction, that feathering immediately gets brushed off, because now the tire is being pushed out. So you want to keep the tire in the same direction. And to that end, many tires, depending on the tread, are directional, and they have an arrow. So you can rotate, certain ways, but you can't change the direction. You can't shake the right front and put it on the left side, because if you do that, it's going to turn the wrong way. So having said that, there's some other important issues that I want to talk about with tires. I've got a break coming up, but it's worth your time to stick around, and folks, your time as well. I know that Jimmy's still on the air from Mississippi, and Hannah will take your calls, folks, at 888 Car Clinic. That's 227-2546. But Jim, there's some specific to-dos that I can share with you that I have done, and I increased my mileage on my wife's Mini Cooper that I bought years ago by 20%. Don't go away. I'll be back. A 2015 Ford Escape recently came into the shop, 120,000 miles and going strong, but it was starting to hesitate, and the customer also complained of declining fuel economy. This 2-liter turbocharged engine is GDI, or gas direct injection, and special maintenance is needed in certain areas, particularly the fuel system. We suspected carbon buildup, and sure enough, using a borescope through the spark plug hole, there was definite evidence of carbon buildup. GDI engines are different in the way they inject fuel, and it can create some issues with repair and maintenance. That's why it's important to use products rated for GDI, like Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit. Each step of the process is designed with GDI engines in mind. We use the kit, and after 2 weeks on the road, the car is performing noticeably better, and MPG has improved a bit. Learn more about Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kits and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, folks, for tuning in today. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by the Car Care Council, reminding you that October is Fall Car Care Month. You can visit carcare.org to learn how you can keep your vehicle safe, dependable, and on the road longer. That's carcare.org. Okay, back to the tires. And understand, this goes for all vehicles. Here's the way you can increase the mileage that you get out of a tire, which means a direct input to your pocketbook. Because if you have to buy a tire at 20,000 miles versus 24,000, that extra 4,000 miles means it's just extra free mileage. Why? Because you take actions to make it so. And here's what you do. You start with a brand new set of tires. And let's say that there's 9 30-seconds of tread depth. And that's the way you can for $2, you can go to O'Reilly Auto Parts and buy a tread depth gauge. And for $6, you can get a digital gauge that's really cool. So the point is this: you start with a new tire, and you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2 is left front, right front. 3 and 4 is left rear, right rear, either or. So you measure the tread depth on a brand new tire. You put the air pressure in, and you align the front wheels and the rear wheels. You get 4-wheel alignment, so that's all cool. You balance the tires. That's all cool. That's a given. So that's done. But here's where you can take actions with yourself. What you can do is you measure the tread depth on the left front, and you measure in 3 places: the outer tread, the very much inner tread, and the center tread. Now, you're going to find it's 9, 9, and 9. That's the tread depth straight across. Well, what if the front end were way out of alignment and it wore the inside? So in 5,000 miles, you check it, and it would be maybe 8.5, 8, and 7 on the inside. You see where I'm going? You would know that you had a misalignment. Now, here's another thing. What if you had 8 30-seconds on the outside, 8 30-seconds on the inside, and in the center you had 9 30-seconds? Well, wait a minute. Now you've gone 5,000 miles. There's no wear on the center, or there's less wear on the center. It shows me and tells you that the outer edges of the tire are pressing into the road, and you're not running enough air in the tire. Likewise, if you had too much air, you would have say 8 in the outside, 8 in the inside, and then in the center you would have 7. That's because you're running too much air. So if you will go to the trouble to do this at between 4,000 and 5,000 miles and measure the tread depth of in 3 different places, outside, inside, and center of the left front, left rear, right rear, you will be able to determine which tire is wearing the most, or which 2 tires are wearing the most, and rotate your tires and change the pressure accordingly. And I did this on a Mini Cooper that called for, get this, it had called for 31 psi in the front and 29 in the back. Well, there's no back. The Mini Cooper has no weight in the back. Everything's up front. I ran 27 in the rear and 33 in the front. That's a 5 psi differential. And guess what? I rotated every 4,000 miles religiously, every 4,000 miles, because this was a mission. And I got 24,000 miles versus 20,000 miles out of those tires, and I did that for 2 sets of tires. So that meant I got 8,000 miles that I didn't have to buy tires on the vehicle. You can do the same thing. Okay, Jimmy, it's your turn. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding.
Good morning, Bob. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. You as well, sir. What can I do for you this morning?
Okay, I got 3 little things I want to run by you. Last Saturday, I don't get y'all down here in the morning. I get you in the afternoon. But last Saturday, I had to go to my daughter's house. I went out there, switched on my truck. I was hearing this dumb redneck talk on your radio station. I got no, hey, that's me.
You're not dumb. You're from Mississippi, all right, but you're far from dumb, my friend. So you heard yourself on the air.
Yeah, I heard myself on there talking about this Nissan exterior, talking about I love the body style. But this is for me. I said, wait a minute, that's me.
How did you sound?
Like a redneck.
Let me ask you a question, because first time I ever was on air and listened to myself, I said, I sound like that. Did you know how you sounded?
Yes, sir. I've heard myself repeat it a few times. Okay. It took me a second or two to dawned on me that was me. I don't know who, but it finally come to me. The question at hand, Bobby, you talking about that oil earlier?
Right.
I've known 2 old men in my life. They said that oil does not break down. Every 3,000 or 4,000 miles, they'd change a filter and add a quart. Never changed the oil, and you couldn't convince them this oil didn't break down.
Well, now wait. They have a point. Oil does not break down, but oil gets dirty, and that's why they say change the filter. But see, there's something, oil in and of itself is useless if you didn't add additives. Oil has dispersants. It has additives that trap dirt, and that dispersants that clean dirt and suspend dirt. It has additives like zinc and phosphorus that increase its surface tension, or not surface tension, but decrease friction. So it has friction fighters. It has anti-foaming agents. It has all sorts of additives that make it live longer. And because on the compression, some of the unburned gas and a lot of the compression goes through and by the rings and into the crankcase of the engine. And to that end, a little later in the program, I brought today a new article on PCV systems, and which we published on our website, which is way cool, and that will have and speak to that. So I won't put that ahead of time, but I will tell you a little later on, folks, why a PCV valve was the best emissions control and the best for engines ever designed. However, it had some disadvantages because it takes vapors from the oil and puts them into the mouth of the engine, so that's where the black lung disease. But Jim, with regard to oil, the difference between crude and convention, let's just start there. Conventional oil has a hodgepodge of molecule size. Synthetic oil, all molecules are same size. So synthetic oil flows faster, quicker, and more smoothly through any engine, through the cracks and crevices between the main bearings, rod bearings, cam journals, and all those closely fitting tolerances where no metal is supposed to ever touch other metal. You're supposed to have a film of oil. Well, the problem there is that the film of oil also has those additives, and as oil gets old, and I certainly disagree with not changing oil, and I can prove that. I've got hundreds I've got thousands over the years of my 48 years of customers who had to buy new engines because they did not change the oil. And to that end, we have actually had a Chrysler Hemi in here that had a misfire because the car had an oil change and they used the wrong viscosity, and the oil was too thick to go through the orifices of the cam phasers within the engine's electronic controls. So having said that, here's the bottom line, and here's where I subscribe. Now I'm going to talk out of the other side of my mouth, Jim. here's where I subscribe to what your friends said, to a point. If you use synthetic oil, you could change the filter every 5,000 miles and top it off, and then you could change the oil and the filter every 10,000 miles. But I do not. You could do that, and it would be perfectly okay. And unless you only drive 3,000 to 5,000 miles a year, and you can't go any more than a year with the same oil, because if you drive a lot of miles, it's no big deal. You can do change the filter, top off, 5,000, change the oil and the filter every 10,000 miles. And then what that does is that it keeps that oil fresh, it keeps the additives fresh, and it keeps the dirt out. That I prescribe to. In fact, I created the top off for many of our customers, but we ultimately had to quit performing top offs because people would forget to come in at 5,000 miles because they only remembered, I can go 10,000 miles, or procrastination, which, as you know, we all are guilty of. And so they'd come in at 8 and 9 and 10,000 miles for their top off. Well, that's a lot cheaper than a full bore change oil oil and filter, because at $11, $13 a quart for oil, that some of that synthetic oil is $13 a quart. So your car holds, say, 9 quarts plus a filter, plus a little labor, 3/10 of an hour labor. That's a lot of money. So we had to stop that because we had people coming in here at 8,000 miles for their top off, and so we made the rule: if you've got, and we gave a 500-mile buffer, that you've got a grace period of 500 miles. So if you had 5,500 miles, we would perform the top off. But if you had 5,600, we did a complete. You say, wait a minute, it's time for my top off. No, it was time. You're overdue. You're past due. You're beyond the goal, and you can't save that money. So ultimately, we've gotten away, although we will still perform that for our regular customers who have used the synthetic oil in that program for so long religiously. But if they don't go by the rules, then they don't, and I made the rules because of my experience and what have you. There's another, Jimmy, service that I created that actually I thought of about 25 years ago, but I didn't have the financial or the means otherwise to codify the process. And it's a system that we use called Booster Shot. And Booster Shot is, and we trademarked that name. And Booster Shot is where you take, what's the advantage of synthetic besides the molecules? The additive package, and it's more expensive. So yeah, there's more additives, or there's a tighter tolerance and a lot of benefits and friction fighters and what have you. So how can you get the same or equal protection out of conventional oil? Well, you add synthetic oil to it that is like a pint of additive that is 100% synthetic. Now you've got a synthetic blend. And I wasn't the first one that thought. I was the first one that applied the Booster Shot as you would with a human doctor, and we all know what a booster shot is. So I said, well, I'm going to apply that same terminology to the industry so that my customers could understand, because people don't know anything about cars, and they don't understand anything about cars, and you can tell them about cars, and they still don't know anything about cars. There's a lot of mechanics out there that don't know a lot about cars. Cars are sophisticated. So for those people that said, I know all of it, yeah, right. I'll hire them if they know it all today. And, so here's the point. What we did was we created the Booster Shot, and we used conventional oil and a 12-ounce additive of a synthetic additive. And that was a blend. And we added that, we call it our Booster Shot. And in addition, we added to the gas tank the fuel additive. So which every 5,000 miles you should use a fuel additive. And when we talk about the Berryman B12 Chem Tool, you could put that in, and should, every 5,000 miles of your vehicle, and it will fight the polyps and carbon buildup that's common on an internal combustion engine that burns dirty gas. It's dirty gas. Now, having said that, and not to belabor the point, but the Booster Shot worked so well for our customers that our our synthetic users would say, I want booster shot for my car. Well, so we did. But then we said, well, we really don't need to spend that money because your synthetic oil already has the booster shot in it. So we have two programs. We have conventional booster shot, which means oil, conventional oil and a synthetic additive to the oil, and a fuel additive. And then we have booster shot for our synthetic users that doesn't include the oil additive, but does include the tank additive, the gas additive. So every 5,000 miles. And so people don't come here and ask for oil changes. They come in and say, it's time for my booster shot. So it works. And it works. And that's what I do on my own personal car. And other than design flaws, get this, other than design flaws, I've not had any issues with my car. The only issues I've had with my car are design flaws. And those include the water pump that was designed the wrong way, and 8 years later they finally corrected it by redesigning the water pump, and front brake rotors that the factory didn't work, and so I'm on my fourth set of rotors, and I'm not even a rough on brakes. But anyway, that's you get where I'm going. Did you have any questions, by the way?
Yes, on that. I got sidetracked there. At 2001 Town and Country.
Okay.
Alternator went out on it. The only way I can get that alternator off that motor and out from under it.
Oh yeah.
I try to unloosen them bolts. They don't want to move, and I don't want to break them. You need the motor to be cold to back them out, or they be hot to back them out.
Patience. You can soak them with. Well, here's a problem. We all say use the spray and soak the bolt, but if the bolt is seized, the spray doesn't get in the threads anyway. What I would do is I would use some lubricant and spray it and let it sit overnight. And I think warm would probably be better because the bolt will stay the same size, but the aluminum part that it screws into will grow and expand more so than the bolt. And also, don't use an impact, just use slight pressure, and if you can tweak it and make it move 2 minutes, then stop and go backwards. And folks, that's all the time I have. Thanks for tuning in.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, you never want to get surprised by a dead battery. A vehicle's original battery generally lasts about 3 to 5 years, but many fail long before then. Next time you're in for an oil service, have the technician test your battery. Better now than too late. Today's vehicles have start-stop systems, navigation, radio amplifiers, electric fuel pumps, 25 or more onboard computer modules, and serious electronic controls that depend on a strong, fully charged battery. Make sure the car you're driving has a healthy battery. Make yourself a note. Go to autobatteries.com and see for yourself how a battery can keep you safely driving down the road or put you on the side, just like that. At autobatteries.com, you'll see battery technology, battery testing, how to choose the battery, how to jumpstart your battery, and more about AGM batteries, my choice. I'm not here to make you a battery expert, rather to help you better understand why a reliable battery is essential for your road trips. Go to autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special good morning. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us. Ride along with me this hour, and Hannah will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic and put you in a queue, and I will put you on the air. Interesting information a little earlier, if you missed the first hour of today's broadcast. I just touched on the U.S. Google search trends. So what do, as regard to cars, and we're talking about automobiles, what do people search for that own, say if you own a Mini Cooper, what's your question? If you own a BMW, what's your question? Or a Ford, what's your question? Well, so I found a paper that gives me numbers that tells me how many people that drive a Ford called or Googled what question. And 1,900 people every month Google who owns Ford. Who was found? When was Ford founded? 1,200. How to reset anti-theft system on a Ford 600. So there are a lot of folks, a lot of you folks out there that are looking for answers to their car questions online. And of course, obviously, if you have a Ford, you're going to ask a Ford question, but not necessarily. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats, caps, and engine management. You can learn more about their products and their industry-leading application coverage at Motorrad.com. Your calls when I come back. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature, in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element Ultrastat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The Ultrastat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The Ultrastat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad Ultrastat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. We recently had an 09 Honda Pilot come into the shop with 169,000 miles on the odometer. The vehicle owner said the cabin was starting to smell like coolant, and he was concerned. Upon closer inspection, we found a heater core leak. Choices were to keep the vehicle and make a repair, which at best is half a day's labor plus parts, or sell the vehicle and buy a different used car that could have its own set of problems. We presented a third option, K-Seal. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. Well, I don't just talk about it, we actually use the product in our service shop. It's a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Other sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Our customer went with K-Seal, and 1 month later, no more leak. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at lendingtree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get this hour started. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Motorcraft. Original equipment approved, specs and performance for all your Ford and Lincoln repairs. Motorcraft. Right part, priced right. You can learn more at motorcraft.com. Okay, your calls at 888-227-2546. Miss Hannah will take your call and put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. So, interestingly enough, I find that people searching on Google, this is searches per month, folks. Who owns Ford? 1900. When was Ford founded? 1200. How to reset anti-theft system on the Ford? 600. How to disable Ford anti-theft? 700. So there are more people trying to disable it than there are trying to figure out how to reset it. And then how to use Ford Sync? Well, that's a big issue. 500. But it's so interesting to me on a BMW. Do you know what BMW stands for? Jonathan, do you know what BMW stands for? Barbarian Motor Works. Okay. Well, there are 12,000 people, and that's Jonathan Sloan, who is now working the board, while our producer is off to the side doing what Jonathan does. It's interestingly enough that they swap jobs here so that it's cross-training, which is the way you must do to allow people time off. So you're right, Jonathan, but 12,000 people a month Google what does BMW stand for, and 2,600 who owns BMW, and then how to update BMW software are 400. So it's really, who made the Volkswagen Beetle? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, who made the Volkswagen Beetle? Well, Volkswagen, but yes, right. But it was 2,500 who owns VW, 1,300, and so on, so much. How much does a VW Beetle weigh? 150 folks, which I don't find these numbers really outstanding, considering that Google has, so many millions of people that use it. But I do find it just entertaining. Who makes Audi? 2,500. Who owns Audi? How to pronounce Audi? 1,300 people. Now, and anyway, that information, folks, I found at click4reg.co/.uk. So this is a company out of UK. So anyway, if you need that information or you want to find it, folks, it is, again, it's click4reg.co.uk. And that's the information. It's really kind of click for reg. It gives you information that you might want to know sometimes. And who knows? I wonder how many hits they get a week or a month, just finding out information that they've collected. 888 Car Clinic is the number, and we have calls coming in. But before I go to the phones, I want to share with you a very interesting element of all the vehicle that you drive. This pertains to everyone who's tuned in. If you drive an internal combustion engine vehicle, then this pertains to you. If you drive a hybrid, it has an internal combustion engine, this pertains to you. So here's the bottom line. The push for fuel economy has a benefit of using less gas as well as fewer emissions, and the cars and trucks run cleaner than ever. Well, how so? Well, the PCV valve. So a lot of you may not realize that the first federally mandated pollution control device was in 1960. That's how many years ago? 60, 40, 50, 60 years. In 1960, the PCV valve. What does PCV stand for? Positive crankcase ventilation. Now, the crankcase, folks, and this is elementary, but But it's important for you to understand the crankcase is the lower part of the engine where the crankshaft is housed and where the engine oil lives. When fuel is burned in the engine, some of the explosive gases from the combustion process above the top of the piston squeeze past the pistons and down into the crankcase. This is called crankcase pressure and gases. Now, this gas is about 70% unburned fuel. Not necessarily with a newer car, but in older cars it was huge in the 60s where we didn't have well-designed and close tolerance engines. And so if these gases are allowed to remain in the crankcase, they contaminate the oil and cause it to turn to sludge. So sludge is like Vaseline, and it clogs the passages in the engine, and that leads to damage. So the pressure buildup would blow out also seals and gaskets. I can't tell you how many older Volvos that we've had to pull the timing belt off and the timing pulley on the camshaft because the camshaft a seal was blown out and leaking. It was a common occurrence then because Volvo had on the side of their engine, they had a little separator, oil separator. You know, for those of you who are familiar with a catch can, well, Volvo created a catch can. And you say, well, hey, that's state of the art. It's really great. Well, here was a problem. They put this foam mesh in it so that the vapors could go through the mesh, and the mesh would trap the oil. The oil would drain back into the crankcase, and then the vapors without the oil or the pressure would go into the intake manifold and be burned. So you had a positive crankcase system, and then you had the oil that would be trapped like a catch can. Now, a catch can is different in as much you have to drain the oil out of the can because it uses flues and traps to trap oil. Here was a problem with the Volvo, and this was a common issue. The oil would collect and just turn into sludge in the PCV canister built on the side of the engine. When it did, it would block the flow of everything, oil and air and gas. And the pressure would build up in the crankcase and blow the seals out of the engine. Very common issue. So if you replaced ever a seal on any of those older Volvos, you better pull you had to get to it on the side of the block. You better sometimes pull the intake, but not necessarily. You had to pull that canister off and either replace it or spend an hour cleaning out the sludge out of the inside, or else your seal job wasn't going to last. So anyway, the PCV valve is very inexpensive to replace, and some can be checked for functioning by you or your technician. The old-fashioned shake it and see if it rattles, that doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. And also a lot of vehicles, and Mercedes did this in the mid-70s, rather than put moving parts in the PCV and traps in the PCV, they put passageways in the valve cover, because that's the top of the engine, and that's where the least amount of oil is, because the oil's in the crankcase and the vapor's in the crankcase, and the crankcase is connected to the valve covers. So the pressurized vapor in a valve cover would have to go work its way and wind its way through stairs and flues and catch areas, and then finally it would go through a 60 thousandths orifice that would go to the intake manifold. So there was no valve, and also just to finally closing this issue, all PCV systems are vacuum leaks. The vacuum leak or at least air leak, because a PCV system feeds the pressure from the crankcase, which is the combustion pressure off top of the piston, back into the mouth of the engine, round robin. And with it, oil vapors go, and with that's where carbon really gets built up on the intake manifold, the plenum, the intake runners, and the back of the intake valves, and that's what causes carbon buildup, and it's unavoidable in an internal combustion engine. Let's take a call from Carolyn in New York. Or is it Caroline or Carolyn? Caroline. Good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yes. Well, that's quite the system that you were just talking about. It made me think of capillaries in the body, where the capillaries take overflow or whatever. They even, what you were just talking about the Volvo problem.
You're so right. And to that end, another little vivid visuality or visual that I could create for you. You know, when you go to, like for instance, a McDonald's or a restaurant, and you look under the hood, which you wouldn't, of the stove, or even in your house, you look under the hood of the stove, and there's a lot of oil vapors. And then if you look at the outside building of a fast food restaurant, those domed vents,
yeah, quite noisy sometimes.
And dripping in oil. And Caroline, I tell you, all that happens in every engine for every person tuned into this program. It is the nature of the beast. It's an emissions control. It's a darn good device, and it works, except that it has, rather than for us to breathe those vapors, that's what the point is, for us to breathe those vapors, then the engine breathes its vapors. But it's like first smoking and then first-hand and second-hand smoke in inhalation. Well, we rather than to get second-hand breathing of inhalation of smoke, the engine gets first-hand inhalation of oil and oil vapors, and that creates, Carolyn, imagine this: if you really want to get a wall dirty, you throw oil on it and then throw dust and dirt on it. Now you got a real yucky coated, and then bake it overnight. Well, that happens over and over and over with cars. I'm gonna have to hold a brake because I got a hard brake. And Caroline, I'm coming back to you. Don't touch the dial. In the service bay this week, a longtime customer's 2000 Ford Taurus. He'd been complaining about a humming noise at highway speeds and grinding when he stopped. With 55,000 miles on the odometer, the driver's had the vehicle since new and never had any work done. No brakes, no suspension. A thorough inspection revealed a number of potential problems: a failing left front wheel bearing, worn-out rear brake pads and rotors, and the beginnings of a leaking brake caliper. Our choice to solve these problems? Motorcraft. Brake systems and suspension repair represent serious work you want done right the first time. Choosing quality parts is critical to ensuring vehicle reliability and longevity. Motorcraft quality brake and suspension parts are engineered for Ford and Lincoln vehicles. From the hub to the rotor, calipers, brake pads, and wheel bearings, Motorcraft quality parts provide you with the stopping power and stability needed for your vehicle. Learn more about Motorcraft brake and suspension parts at motorcraft.com. That's motorcraft.com. Motorcraft, right part, priced right. We recently performed a major service on a 1996 F-150. The vehicle had just under 200,000 miles on it. In addition to fluids and filters, we changed the spark plugs and boots, performed a cooling system flush, and replaced the thermostat, hoses, and drive belts. After a few weeks, the owner noticed a small leak coming from the area where the transmission bolted onto the block. Using a pressure tester, we found that coolant was seeping from one of the freeze plugs at the rear of the engine. This repair would require several hours of labor and another few days or so in the shop. Given the truck's age and the fact it was just in the shop for service, we suggested K-Seal, a one-step permanent multi-purpose system for coolant leak repair that won't clog radiators or heater cores. K-Seal stops leaks and can also prevent future leaks. After driving the truck for a week, the owner called and let us know the leak had stopped. K-Seal is available at fine retailers everywhere, like Napa Auto Parts. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by Omnicraft. The quality and reliability you expect from Ford, now available for non-Ford vehicles. You can learn more at omnicraftautoparts.com. We're talking with Caroline from New York. So, Caroline, your question for me.
Well, it's not a car problem. It's actually, I had a friend who had her car stolen, and she was looking at cars. And this one car that she was looking at, I can't remember if it was a Toyota, again, which was a Corolla that was stolen, or some Chevy that she was looking at. And it said that the engine was Victor Tom, a VVT instead of a CVT. What's a VVT?
Okay.
Victor Tom.
Okay.
Did she get it wrong, or
No. She got it right. I'm delighted that you asked me that question, and I'm going to do a short version of creating a visual. A valve.
Did I just have to make one? Can I make one comment though?
Yeah, sure.
Because my 2018 Subaru Forester and a lot of cars these days don't sound like cars. They sound like whirligigs. The noises that they make.
Oh.
Just yesterday, I saw an older Corvette that was probably from the 60s. It was like a fastback.
Right.
I think it was from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the engine purred. It sounded like an engine is supposed to sound. And it just, it's like I lifted my head up and I go, where's that sound coming from? And I saw that it was an old Vet. But anyway, cars don't sound like they used to sound. But anyway, I'll let you talk.
They don't. But you're so right on. Gosh, you and I could have a conversation for a long time. So I'll try to keep this as short in respect for others. But number one, if I were to, a valve is the device that opens when you open the throttle and you let air into the engine, opening the throttle. Now, if you just crack the throttle, you inch along at 10 miles an hour. But if you nail the throttle, open it wide open, then you open the mouth of the engine. Okay, that's the first thing you have to remember is that, or understand, air flow into the engine is power. The more air that you get into the engine, the more power. You can always inject the fuel that you needed. Because
and the gasoline is always the same amount, but the air is what changes
for every
I'm
time. No, it's okay. It's a good question. For every gallon of gas, you have to have 9,000 gallons of air. So the trick is to get as much air as you can in an engine. That's why turbochargers and superchargers, that's all they do is when you open the mouth, it blows and forces air in there above atmospheric pressure. So that's the first phase, the throttle or the mouth of the engine or our mouth. Okay, that's the airflow. Now, how does that air that goes into the lungs or the plenum chamber get into each individual cylinder? Each intake valve is a mechanically operated poppet, a door that opens. Okay, so let's say that we're going to let 10 people through our door. We're at home and I'm your doorman. You got a party. I open the door and I let one person in at the time. So I open the door just long enough, and you say, look, it's really cold outside, or it's really hot outside, I want to keep the heat, and so don't open the door long. So I open the door only long enough for one person to pop in, I close the door. And then another one, and I close the door. Well, that's what we need for low-speed driving. Slow airflow, onesies at a time. We need low airflow, so we need an engine that purrs and has good power and good fuel economy at stoplight and slow driving. Now, to that end, go back to your house. Now you say, well, Bobby, why don't you let all 10 people in at one time? Gosh, okay. So I open the door wide open and all 10 people come in at one time, then I close the door. I've opened the door for a longer duration and I've opened it wider. That's what a camshaft does in a racing engine. It holds the valve, it opens it farther and holds it open longer. It's called duration per crankshaft revolution so that more air can get in. Here's the problem. If you're idling and you open your mouth wide open, you stumble, you kind of choke because, or if you try to whistle, you can't with a mouth open. You gotta whistle because you gotta have a small orifice. So I said all that to say this: the best of both worlds. We need a mild single door open for slow city driving and moderate driving, but we need the passing power and the towability and the horsepower and torque producing that wide open throttle or half throttle or 3/4 throttle. If you're pulling, for instance, and we'll break it down here, if you're driving onto an interstate with your Subaru, you're not going to mess around. You're not going to ease
You're
the
not
throttle.
gonna pussyfoot.
That's right. You said it. So there you go. You're not. So now, when you open the throttle with a variable Venturi timing.
Venturi.
I didn't say, if I said Venturi, I'm wrong. Variable valve timing, variable door opening. Remember, Bobby, onesies at a time. Now open it up for 10 people. So when you're accelerating onto the ramp of an I-10 or interstate I-10 here, then you must get all the power you can. So you open the throttle up, which means, Bobby, open the door and let 10 people in. You're opening the door. Now, let's have a moderate compromise. Let's take a little of the wide open and a little of the onesies, and let's adjust it on the fly. Let's open, and Bobby, you open the door onesie. There's 2 people in the driveway. Don't hold it open for 10 because there are only 2 people there at the front door. So don't hold it open that long because you lose all the cool in the house. You with me?
Yep.
Okay. So if we have an automatic device that reads the engine RPM and the driver demand, which means a throttle position, then that device, which is a variable valve timing, will open the valve longer or at a different time duration based on the design and the manufacturer's programming of the computer. And it's a computer controlled timing. And so there is no stock engine that can be all things. You either got an engine that's great at a traffic light or it's wide open. So how do you get the best of both worlds? You compromise, but you use a variable valve timing that gives you and makes that engine happy at onesies and twosies or happy at 10s or 12s. And,
interesting.
Isn't it very interesting?
How long has that been around?
Oh,
has that been around a while?
It's been a lot.
I've never heard VVT.
It's been around. It's common on cars today. It's probably been around 25 years.
No kidding.
Yeah, a long time. And of course, with racing, it's been around 100 years because the first thing you do when you build a racing engine is you put a big cam in it. I'll put a big cam. In fact, if you put a big cam that is not variable valve timing, but a big cam that has opening and duration, the engine goes because it doesn't idle. And that's why when you hear dragsters or hot rods that pull up next to you that got that rough idle, because the engine is not happy because it's not getting ones and twosies, it's getting a full dose of 10s all the time. You see where I'm going? And so it's very interesting, and you touched on something that's to my heart because I actually designed the combustion chamber for my rear engine dragster and worked with a cam company to design a camshaft that worked with a compression ratio that I had in a chamber. But that's for another show. But of all of the people that have ever called me in my 28 years on air, of all the hot rod guys and what have you, which we don't really go there because it's way complicated, although I love it, you're the first person, and I say normal, regular, not only female or male, that really doesn't in the cars, but wanted to have questions that were specific like this in nature. So, I applaud you. You're way cool.
Well, I have something else to tell you, and I don't have the internet. In fact, I'm in my car, sitting in the parking lot of a grocery store.
Oh, okay.
Bavarian Motor Works. Isn't that BMW?
Yes.
Bavarian Motor Works.
Bavarian Motor Works.
It's a German word. Well, you wouldn't say works. You would say, I think it's
Works. W-E-R-K-S. Oh yeah, works. Yeah, like tires in the UK. T-Y-R-E-S. What's wrong with those people? Okay. I gotta go. I got a full bank of calls. Thank you for calling.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. How cool is that? Now, see, that's what is exciting. Let's go to Fred. Without further ado, Fred from Florida. Hey, from our own state. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, Fred.
Thank you.
What can I do for you?
My question is, and I'm very, very visually impaired, so they won't let me drive or fly or do anything anymore.
Okay.
But I want to buy, if at all possible, a self-driving car.
You are the man.
And I want to know what you think of the future and what's going on in that world.
You are the man. Let me say this. And so for all of those naysayers out there about autonomous cars or self-driving cars, here's a gentleman, and we've talked about this before, Fred. Here's a gentleman that will use the vehicle and the technology to make him mobile, to mobilize you. You can be independently mobile with a self-driving car, and for that end, Mercedes, you asked me, but let me just share with you what's going on this week. Mercedes has received approval to test their driverless technology that's from Bosch. You hear me talk about Bosch and Daimler in Stuttgart. Yes. Bosch has installed infrastructure in the parking garage of the Mercedes-Benz Museum, which works together with internal vehicle technology from Daimler to allow cars to park without human assistance. In other words, you drive up, and think about this, like valet parking. You drive up, and this is what it has to do with your question. You drive up, you get out of the car, and the car is supposed to park in spot 12. And you take your phone and say, go to spot 12, and it's all GPS, and your car self-drives itself into the test. And so if these tests prove successful, then that's the potential to be a step forward in autonomous technology that not only eliminate the inconvenience of valet parking, but also help business accommodate more visitors. I mean, think about it. If you could just drive up and pop out of your car, and the car would on its own go park, think of what you could save. If you've ever been to Disneyland, then you know what I'm talking about, Disney World, and I have been there. So it's really amazing. So here's the bottom line. It will make driving safer, and as these vehicles are equipped with sensors for vehicles and other pedestrians with quicker reaction time than human drivers, that's a given. And if the test program proves successful, it serves as a case study for research in autonomous parking technology in the U.S., which leads to the very vehicle that you're talking about, because you call a vehicle, comes to your house, you get in the vehicle, and you say, I want to go to 2614 North Main Street, and the vehicle takes you there.
Absolutely, that's what I'm looking for.
Well, you'll get it. You'll get it sooner than what our listeners believe. You will get it sooner. I promise you that, because technology, technology, you can't stop technology, but we can.
I don't want to either.
No, but we can determine how technology can help us live better, safer, more convenient lives. And in your case, and we have a gentleman that calls regularly who is a blind mechanic from Mexico, in New Mexico, and he amazes me that he can do what he does. And Fred, you just stay tuned, because it's coming, folks. But I'm going. I'll be back after the break. Folks, recently a 99 Chevrolet Blazer came into the shop. The owner was having problems with hesitation upon acceleration. He'd already changed out several parts: spark plugs, wires, ignition coil, mass airflow sensor, fuel filter, and the air filter element. He even changed the thermostat and coolant temperature sensor. Still had the same problem after putting a lot of money in this car, and he was frustrated. We dug a little deeper, cleaned the throttle body, and checked for trouble codes. No codes. So we recommended Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Carbon deposits and dirty fuel injector nozzles are a common problem with drivability in late model engines. We also recommended a higher quality gasoline. The customer noticed improvement on the first day, and only a few days and a few hundred miles later, the problem was completely gone. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now, you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, here we go with the final segment of today's second hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, 10 till noon every Saturday. So check in early so I don't have to rush you out. But let's go to Bill in New York, and then I see we have Randy and Ted and Sam. I'm going to answer every one of your questions or put you on the air. But first, Bill from New York, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
How are you, Bobby?
I couldn't be any better. I don't know if you heard Caroline, but I'm just on cloud nine because here's a lady that calls and asks about camshafts and those sorts of things, and I think it's just way cool because she's gonna go into some information. She's gonna take her car in for service one day, and somebody's gonna tell her something. Well, ma'am, that's not the way it works at all. We're gonna do this. She said, "Excuse me, but that's not the way it works. Here's the way it really works." I think it's anyway. What can I do for you?
I have a 2005 Dodge Neon, and I'll be driving along the highway, and it shifts from drive down into third.
Okay.
Or shifts down.
Right.
And then I might go another mile and a half and shift back up again.
Right.
And it does it on occasional, not all the time, but and my check engine light came out when I had that checked. They did a code. They said it was a transfer issue in the transmission.
There was what kind of issue in the transmission?
A transfer issue. Something in the transmission. He said it was a transfer code.
Oh, okay. So here, let me just give you the short version. The transmission control module is a programmed module that measures the speed of the car, the speed of the engine, and the driver's demand or the location of the accelerator and the speed of the engine. So engine, RPM, load, the load of the car, and what have you, and determines whether or not it should upshift. For example, if you're riding a bike and you take off in first gear, you certainly wouldn't go to 10th speed because your legs would say, "Hey, wait, I can't." You got to downshift. So your vehicle might not, and this is underline the words, Bill, and this might be good for you. Your vehicle might not have a transmission issue. It might have a performance issue, and the engine, like you driving a bike and goes from first to fifth gear or 10th gear, your legs will say, "Hey, wait a minute, I can't turn the pedals." Your engine, if it's low on power, would also feel that same load and say, "Wait a minute, I can't take fifth or sixth gear. I got to downshift, or I can't take high gear. I got to go back to that whatever gear yours went to." So there are two things that I recommend. Number one, I would get a second opinion, and I would have a technician ride with you in your car and experience what you're experiencing. And then also that technician could use his professional scan tool. I'm not talking about scanning for codes. I'm not talking about a $35 plug-and-play tool that is used by everybody. I'm talking about a $5,000 machine that gets beyond the gatekeeper. See, your car and every person that's on hold now or listening in that has a 96 and later car has a gatekeeper. That gatekeeper keeps out anything from entering the electronic architecture of the computer, but it will allow the computer to give you the codes. And I've said this before, but I'll say it not to be repetitive, but if Bill, you and I are in a cafe having coffee, we look across the street and we see a house on fire, we know the house is on fire. Well, that's code 1. But and that's all we know. We don't know where it started or which room the fire is emanating or started from. But if we're first responders, we have to get beyond the outside and inside, and therefore is where the gatekeeper, we have to go in the house and find that culprit and put the fire out at its base point, and then we can solve the problem. That's the differential between a professional scan tool that's allowed to get by the gatekeeper into the house or into the electronic architecture. So I say to you, go. Well, let me ask a quick question. What did the shop tell you after they said transfer? What did they recommend?
Well, all it was just one of these scan tools from one of these auto places.
Well, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. All you know, and now we know your car's on fire. I mean, anybody can say, hey, it doesn't work, got a code. That means nothing except it does advise the driver when the light comes on that the car needs help. And folks, for you listening, if your check engine light comes on and stays on, you should eventually, sooner than later, take it in. If it blinks, you should not drive the car. If it blinks, it is a real serious issue. Now, getting back to this, Bill, here's what I'm going to recommend for you. You got a pen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I want you to go to asashop.org, Automotive Service Association, asashop.org. And put in your zip code and look for shops, and you'll find a half a dozen shops that pop up right there in New York. And then I want you to call those individual shops, not to ask them what's wrong with your car, to see how they talk to you when you call. If they don't have time to talk with you because they're busy, then fine, call another shop. And you will finally find a Bobby or someone that cares, and then you can say, I'd like to bring my car over and have you to use your professional scan tool and check the codes, and I'd like for you to ride with me so I can demonstrate what my car is doing that I don't like, and then we'll both be on the same page. You got it?
I got it.
Do it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
Bye-bye.
From New York to Texas, Sam in Texas, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Yeah, baby, I called you a couple of weeks ago about a blower on my 2014 GMC.
About blower speeds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I checked all the websites, checked with the dealer. You know what they told me?
What?
Use recirculate. And by golly, I never bothered with it before.
Right.
But it really works. You throw it on recirculate, it'll get you cold in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I'm surprised in Texas that you didn't know that. And folks, this is a great, Sam, thank you so much for your feedback, because you see, if we're in your home and you leave the front door open, then somebody's going to say, would you please close the door because you're letting all the air out? Well, and so because your home is always in recirculation mode, because there's no way possible it could do its job. In the car, it's different. A car defaults to, when you turn a car off, and as a rule, defaults to the outside airflow, and that means that the air that's picked up at the base of the windshield, the cowl area, but the base of the windshield, comes through those vents up there and goes into the air conditioner HVAC system, and that hot air in Texas hot air has to be cooled down, and I can tell you, if it's on a really hot day, you'd have a tough time finding cold air. So what you do is you go to recirculate, and every time I get in a car, and including my own, I will push the recirc button if the car has a hot soak, and it's been outside. It's not a big deal if I just leave the garage after it's been in there overnight, but otherwise, it's the only way you can cool the car down, because you're running the same air through the evaporator core to cool the same air over and over and over. So why do they make it otherwise? Because when you're running the same air over and over, but condensation builds up, moisture builds up in the system, and that causes microbial growth, and that's where musty odor comes from in air conditioning systems. Texas, you know, the humidity there, like Florida, but maybe not as severe as Florida. But the bottom
Thank you,
line,
Lord.
yeah, really. But the bottom line, yeah, you should always use the recirc. And if you had someone, let's say smokers, that's not prevalent any longer, but if you had someone in the car smoking, you would put it on vent and not recirc, so that the fresh air could come in, go in the car, and your car and every person listening has a vent that's located under the bumper or the rear of the car on both sides. That is a rubber flapper that lets air out but no air in. And so when you're driving down the road, not using recirculation, forced air comes in the cabin and is pushed through the cabin and goes out the trunk, base of the trunk, the base of the quarter panels on the back side of the car. Anyway, that's the way all cars. Hey, thanks for calling back. I appreciate the input, and glad you're on the other side of your air conditioning problem.
I knew better. I do it. I did it when I used to live in Florida, and I did it, but I just never touched it. And it'd be hot weather, and it'd be like half speed or something. Dang,
Gotcha.
you know, and it'd be cold.
I hear you,
and
man.
at higher speed, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you called me back, and thanks. Where do you live in Texas?
Hawkins, Texas, right out of Tyler.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's great to hear from you, and you tune in every Saturday from 10 to noon, and you'll hear others from across the nation talk about their vehicles, and that really helps. It helps me. It helps Tom, Dick, Harry, and you, and Ted, and Randy. In fact, I'm going to go to Ted next. Sam, thanks for calling.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. And let's go to Ted. And from Texas to South Carolina, Ted, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding, Ted. Welcome, and glad to have you in the house.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I have a neighbor who has a car for sale, and I would like to know what points you touch with, and for the sake of your audience.
Pre-purchase. I saw on the screen it said, Ted, pre-purchase inspection points. We created, and that is at the heart. That's one of the best, if not the best service that we've ever provided in our business in 48 years. We have saved a lot of people a lot of money. And so what we do is there's a whole form. I won't go through it, but I created this form, and then we've polished it as technology changed and car changes along the way. But it's an 80-point inspection. And so it starts with the technician gets in the car and starts the car. And in starting the car, they listen to the crank of the engine. And that way, if it goes, you know it's got a problem, starter or battery. But if it goes and jumps right off, then the technician can assume, and this is an assumption, but it's a good one because we know the way starters sound. We know that it jumps to life. And then we put it in gear, and then we see how it jumps or not, or jerks or not. And then we drive it around the block, and we see how the brakes are with pulsations and what have you. And we see how the transmission shifts. So we've only gone 3 blocks now, and we know how it starts, how it idles, how it accelerates, how it shifts, and how the brakes work from a physical drive. That's the first thing. Then we come back and we put it on the rack, and we look at the brakes, and we look at oil leaks, raise it up and look underneath, and we look for oil leaks, sweats, and I say sweats because an oil leak is a drip. A sweat is a 100,000-mile gasket, and it's got a little ring around the collar, but it's not dripping. You know, I mean, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them and how severe. And so then we check that, and then we look at the fluids and check like the acidity of the coolant. We check the pH factor of the coolant. We check for technical service bulletins relevant to that vehicle. We check Carfax, not the total Carfax, but our software includes Carfax. So there's service records that are available or not for that vehicle. And let's see what else. Doors, windows, rearview mirrors, and just and genuinely, to make it short, Ted, a pre-purchase inspection is a service that's performed by a trained technician that has one goal, and that is to find everything and anything wrong he or she can find with that vehicle. And I will tell you, We pick cars to pieces, and we've had a lot of dealers that said, "Don't take it to Likis. They're ridiculous." But that used to be now cars are better and the dealers are better. So if you go to a dealer in our neighborhood or in our city and they say, "Well, we're going to take it over to Likis," well, maybe you need to look at this car over here, not the one you're looking at, because they know the one they're looking at won't pass our test. So that's what a pre-purchase inspection is and should be done before anybody pays and writes the check for that car. You got it?
Well, who should be responsible for the purchase, or rather the payment of that inspection?
The buyer. You're the one having the X-ray. You're the one having the inspection performed. You should. Now, every dealer has their 29-point inspection where they sell the car, but let me tell you, you need a third eye. So with a third eye, that's where you need to do. You pay for that, and that's your information, and you don't even have to share it. But here's what's great about that whatever that cost is. You pay for it, you go back to the dealer, and they got a list of things. The dealer will probably fix 50% of those, and you can save money right there. So it's a no-brainer. Randy, we're almost out of time. Your question from Florida.
I've got a 19 Camaro, and the dealer is telling me that it is normal at the beginning of the day, after the car is sat overnight, for it to more or less, it feels like it's downshifting. When I put it in drive and put my foot on the gas, it like downshifts. It loses power. Then it shifts up, and it's normal the rest of the day. Bobby, I've had 200 cars. I've never had one act
Well,
like this.
you know,
it's brand new.
Randy, I'm going to ask you, as I did at the beginning of the show, to call me next week because I am out of time. But I've got my own little sayings about that. So not to be short with you, but call me all the time because, folks, that's really all the time that we have for today. And just remember, if you're like Robert in Florida, who called earlier, or Gene in New York, make sure if you're going to repair your car or maintain it that you use Omnicraft Auto Parts. Omnicraft offers parts solutions for non-Ford vehicles, not Mercury or Lincoln, non-Ford vehicles, to include commonly used maintenance and light repair items, filters, cabin air, engine oil, air filter starters, alternators. Take a quick tour at OmnicraftAutoparts.com. Omnicraft Auto Parts. Until next time, I'm your host, Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love it.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
October is Fall Car Care Month. The Car Care Council reminds you there's no better time to perform a thorough check of maintenance items, brakes, batteries, tires, cooling systems, filters, headlights. These are just a few things to consider before harsh weather hits. Visit carcare.org to find out how you can best keep your vehicle safe, dependable, and on the road longer. You can even develop your own custom service schedule. It's Fall Car Care Month. Are you car care aware? Learn more at carcare.org.
O'Reilly.
This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P-Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay.